Welcome to 5 Phases Health. Your hosts are Peyton Young and Christina Barea. Over the next hour, you'll hear from experts in the field on how you can achieve sustainable good health.
Welcome to 5 Phases Health Radio, your guided journey towards personal transformation and sustainable good health. We simplify health, wellness, and nutritional information, eliminating the guesswork, helping you to achieve radiant health. I'm your co-host, Peyton Young, and I'm joined by
Christina Barea.
And we're excited to be sharing this time with you.
Absolutely. Good to be back. Thanks to everybody for joining into our podcast here. We have seen some great results in the numbers from week to week, and we're so honored that you're taking your time from your day to hear what we have to share. We look forward to continuing to provide valuable information that restores your hope and desire and motivation to stay fit and healthy, and give some tidbits of advice for small things that can be done on a daily basis, which provide profound and lasting benefits. With that, the subject of our show today is talking about starting small. And so, we're putting ourselves in the position of that New Year's resolution, or somebody who's just decided, hey, I'm going to start making healthy choices for myself. Where do I begin, and how do I make it something that is achievable, and that it's not scary, and that it's not overwhelming, and I don't know where to start, and what can I do, and all these questions that typically happen when somebody's getting going. So we are here together with you on the starting mark, right? So we're just at the very beginning of this journey and trying to answer those questions to figure out what makes sense. So fortunately, Peyton and I have been in that position more than once.
Yes, many times.
Many times.
Many times.
As I'm sure most of us who are also listening have started their rehabilitation, their health and nutritional modification process more than once. So here we are together with you at that beginning stage. And so what are we going to do? Well, I think the first thing we got to figure out is...
Well, let's look at maybe the areas that most people, especially right here at the new year, probably want to see some change.
Sure.
And so that could be exercise, it could be nutrition, it could be a mental mindset, making the new year something positive, with outcomes for different aspects, such as a new job, maybe,
right?
Or going on a trip or vacation, which would be really exciting.
Yep.
And then maybe even changing their feelings about things, maybe reevaluating perspective. Yeah.
That works.
I think maybe probably the easiest one to really talk about on making small changes would be exercise.
Sure.
Then maybe we can talk a little bit about nutrition right here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure. So 5 Phases is certainly regarded as a multi-pronged approach to getting whole body wellness, and how you physically are conditioning your body is a good starting point, right? So what are we doing to support the physiological processes that are happening in our body continuously, and what can we do to correct any I would say areas that are less than ideal, and push towards ideally a goal of optimization, right? So how can we put it into a finely tuned, to use the metaphor of machine, right? How can we get our body going? How can we get everything working? And the symphony, if you were listening to episode 1, the symphony, how can we get everybody tuned and the harmony working together with everything else?
And it not being too complex with too many steps.
Correct.
You can get a little bit lost,
right?
That kind of thing.
So it's a trio symphony, not a full orchestra.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe even a band. It could just be a small band.
It's just a small band.
Three-piece band.
Start small. Yeah. That's just the lesson for today is starting small and placing achievable goals. Okay, so we're starting with exercise. What can we do to start small with exercise?
I think the easiest thing to do would be to pick a modality, something that you can do based on your current physiological state. So if you're apparently healthy, or maybe you have some issues or going on, maybe you have some joint problems, or something that would help you, that would allow you to kind of get into choosing for yourself exactly what that modality of exercise would be. I think probably we could probably narrow this down just a little bit to cardiovascular exercise. So
Sure.
It could also be weight training. It could be some other things,
Sure.
but something that's really simple that doesn't require a lot of additional things. So it's kept small, is some mode that is walking or running, or even going maybe to a yoga class or something along those lines, something that's tonifying and getting the heart rate up.
Right. So cardiovascular, by that we mean that it's something that addresses the heart and the
Lungs,
right, and distribution of blood throughout the body. So increasing and improving our cardiovascular means that we're increasing the heart's capacity to pump blood, the veins and arteries, capillaries, and so on to distribute the blood, and the lungs to oxygenate that blood to keep us healthy.
And as a side note, doing these things also, you're expanding and contracting around the joints, so the muscles are moving. So you also get a benefit of
microcirculation.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
And then being able to circulate the lymph system as well. So
Sure.
It helps to rid your body of toxins and those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little fun fact that I like to share with everybody, the lymphatic system is the only system in the body that doesn't have its own pump.
That is correct.
So the way that lymph moves through the body is through the expansion and contraction of the muscles. And so therefore we have to have movement in order for our lymph to be circulated through the lymphatic system, so that the body can stay, like you said, remove toxins and just, keep things moving along. Priority.
And then one of the things I mentioned, walking, running, yoga, it could also be qigong, could also be
Sure.
a major element, is the fact that you are using kinetic chains in the body. So these are big groups of
top to bottom
muscles.
Mm-hmm.
So walking and running is a birotational aspect of the body. So you get through doing this exercise, you are literally with the arm and shoulder movement that goes into the hips and the legs. It is a full bodied exercise,
Yep.
Especially if you allow your arms and chest area to relax.
Yeah. And it's what do we call it? I want to call it the crossover effect is what I'm trying to verbalize here. It's
an elastic band that runs from, as an example, if you're walking or running, it's basically a muscular band that runs from the right shoulder to the left hip, and then from the left shoulder to the right hip. It allows that counter rotation so we don't fall down. It's balance.
Correct.
Yep.
And because the hand and the feet, when you're running, is going to be opposite, it's countering each side. It's the left and right side,
Yep.
Not just from the head down or shoulders down because of the hands and the feet, but it exercises your brain to have that crossover effect, which, like you just mentioned, increases your ability to maintain balance and awareness of spatial and so on. So there's layer upon layer.
Several layers here.
Benefits.
Yeah. And if you didn't want to run, you can, walking is a great.
So we're talking about starting small.
Starting small.
How do we start small?
Especially if you haven't been exercising, walking will be your best area to start in. So yoga is also, and qigong itself are two other modalities that also, even though they're not too vigorous, they do increase the cardiovascular system. They put a load on that system. The heart rate goes up through the movements. And then the movements are also programmed to be full body bilateral movements that also train areas in neuromuscular reactions, so that you now have new stimuli inside the body. And so, of course, when you first begin any of this stuff, you'll see some change very quickly.
Sure.
So,
and you brought up here something also important to consider, which is impact versus low impact.
Low impact. Yeah.
Right. So if you're running, if you're not conditioned to walk, let's just say, for example, a mile, you can't walk a full mile at a leisurely pace, might be a bit of a push to have the expectation to start running at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
So starting small means doing a self-assessment of where I am today and being realistic with the type of modifications to my behavior and lifestyle that I'm going to make that will get me towards the greater goal that I have. So we want to say,
also a doctor's
Sure.
release as well, that you're good to
Right,
go for
absolutely.
exercise or the type of exercise. So, yep.
Agreed 100% on that part. So, we talked about different areas. We talked about exercise, nutrition, mindset, and emotions, or your perspective on things. So choose an area that you want to focus on first. I would say, don't go and say, my first goal is I'm going to run a mile and I'm going to have a low carb diet. That's not an ideal combination to kick off a new behavior with, let's say, because it's got two facets to the change versus just one. So I would recommend, okay, I see two really great goals in here, right? But how about we segment them out and make them two separate goals that, instead of being simultaneously occurring, they're staggered. You do one and then the next one. And then once you have the positive feedback that the first goal was met, then you can say, okay, this is my step 2, and then so on, step 3, 4, 5, and however many steps you want to put.
Exactly. So basically you get yourself to be efficient and effective under load. So the exercise, the walking would be the load.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start to, you're able to maybe at minimum go 10 or 15 minute walk. Then maybe start to add in a little bit of a nutritional or dietary change in there.
And even if it's not walking, it's just maybe lifting the can of soup, or, trying to get some muscle. There's so many ways.
Yeah, exactly. Or just going out for a 5-minute stroll 3 or 4 times a day, just to be moving.
Something to get the blood moving.
Exactly.
Yep. So when we come back from our quick break, which we'll have now, we'll talk about how to generate that change, and through either adding something, taking away something, or making small changes in a different area. But more about that when we come back. Thank you so much for listening to now, and we'll be back shortly.
See you in a few.
5 Phases Health is designed for anyone seeking optimal well-being. We simplify health, wellness, and nutrition information into simple steps to help you achieve radiant health. Our teachings merge ancient wisdom with modern science to reach the root of the problem and prevent common diseases. Each week, we explore topics around food, exercises, breathing, and mental inspiration. We believe that small changes on a daily basis lead to long-term, sustainable good health. Join us as we journey through medicine systems from around the world, including traditional Chinese medicine, allopathic medicine, herbal medicine, and various mind-body systems. 5 Phases Health with Peyton Young and Christina Barea.
And we're back live on the 5 Phases Health Radio Show. I'm Peyton Young, your co-host.
And I'm Christina, your other co-host.
All right.
Right. So we're talking about starting small with goals and healthy behaviors and habits that we'd like to implement into our life. And we're looking to make this very intuitive and easy to follow along step-by-step process that leads to positive results, positive feedback, increasing motivation and inspiration to continue by accomplishing small things that we set in front of us, right? So we know that sometimes if we set a goal that's too big and we don't achieve it within the period of time that we think we're going to achieve it, then we can let that critter come up and start to give us a little bit of feedback that says, oh, I can't do this, or all of the self-defeating language that might surround that. So our goal is to not create any space for self-defeating thoughts to creep in. and establish a step-by-step process that instead continues to reinforce positive behavior, positive feedback, even if it's just something that's like, oh my gosh, that was so easy. It was no effort for me to accomplish it. That's a great feedback loop to have and to continue to build upon. So
let's also say that it's okay to have a big goal. So maybe you want to run a 5K or a 10K in the end of 8, 9, 10 months or a year, depending on where you're starting from. So it's great to have a big goal, but you got to break that big goal down into the little bitty facets that will get you to that point. Mm-hmm. So that's where it becomes a little bit overwhelming for most people in order to affect that change kind of an idea. However, with that being said, all we have to do is begin the process by whatever that modality that you want to or is required for that particular activity. So we can basically, if we want to eventually run, but we've never run before, then we got to start somewhere. And that is just going out and having a walk. Mm-hmm. So that'd be the overall idea behind where we're starting from and starting small.
Yeah. So the way we look at it is, okay, we've established a small goal that we want to achieve that leads to a bigger goal. And we are now needing to understand, are we adding something to our lifestyle and our choices and our routine? Or are we taking something away from the routine and lifestyle? For example, to build on your running example, sure. So maybe I'm going to take away 15 minutes of TV time. I'm going to take away 15 minutes of screen time, fill in your blank on which screen you're using. And instead, I'm going to add 15 minutes of walking time. And if 15 minutes is too hard to accomplish or too challenging due to lifestyle, and we do understand that everybody's lifestyle is different and your time demands are all changing, then if it's 5 minutes, then even 5 minutes is better than 0 minutes. Even 1 minute is better than 0 minutes. There's a couple of groups that I belong to, chat groups and so on, about health and wellness and fitness and so on. And some of the questions that come in frequently are similar to, when is the best time for me to exercise? Mm-hmm. When, if I only have 5 minutes, should I A, not do this exercise, B, do only 5 minutes of the exercise, or C, do a completely different exercise? And I'm a very practical person. Like I just said, if all you have is 5 minutes, then just do 5 minutes. And it's 5 minutes are better than 0 minutes.
Anything is better than nothing.
Correct. Yes. Correct. And then on the other hand, if we're talking about, we said add something or increase the behavior or remove something or decrease the behavior. So if we're really struggling with what to remove from our lifestyle or our minutes of the day available, then we have to do some prioritization in that regard as well, right? So let's go to nutrition, because that's another area that we talked about. So what could I take away from the things that I ingest on a daily basis or regularly that would help me achieve the small goal that I put in front of me? So if my goal is to 5 minutes of walking, mm-hmm. so that I can eventually build up to something else, and one of my obstacles is my nutrition, things that I ingest. Let's just use a very easy example of alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant. So when we consume alcohol, we immediately feel that our energy goes downward and we become somewhat more, I would just say, subdued or lethargic, right? We start to slow down. And it's common for us to use alcohol as a coping mechanism for many things and socially. But the physiological effect of it is not, just to use the word, it's not a stimulant. On the other hand, it's a depressant. So we would want to say, if I'm struggling with getting the motivation to get up and go and fill into those 5 minutes, and I'm consuming alcohol every day at the end of my work shift or something like that to help out, then maybe I don't have that beer. Maybe I don't have that glass of wine, or maybe I just skip a day. I start alternating days. I'm not trying to imply any type of, dependent behavior or anything like that. I'm just simply saying, if we're struggling against motivation, then we want to find things that help support the feeling of motivation.
And kind of look at it this way too. If you're not sure about which things, especially in your diet, are actually affecting you in certain ways, then for a short period of time, you can start reducing or removing certain things like alcohol or sugar.
That's another great example.
Yep. Out of your diet, let yourself adjust to not having that on a consistent basis, and just see how you feel. So it gives you a baseline, see where you're coming from.
Correct. Very well said. And I think that certainly delivers the message again that when we're making these changes, we first need to decide, is it easier for me to add something onto what I already have planned out for my life in the day, which is your activity plus your nutrition, or is it easier for me to remove something from my lifestyle behaviors and habits that day so that I can create the space that I need to work my way towards the goal? So
now we're getting into mindsets.
Correct.
Yes.
Mindset.
So basically surrounding yourselves with motivational things that keep you on track for the things you're wanting to do, the motivation to take those things out of your, let's say, your dietary faculty, and pull those out. And so you put it's simple as a bunch of sticky notes, maybe everywhere with things like, you're the best.
I've done that.
Yes. Love yourself, things like that. You don't need that cookie.
Positive affirmations.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. And on the subject of positive affirmations, your accountability buddy, we've talked about that before, finding somebody who really supports you, who's going to say, I understand that today is probably not the day that you feel the most get up and go and motivation to make those changes that you're wanting to make, but remind yourself about the why. The why is so important. The why do we work towards these goals, right? What's that motivating reason that we decided to make these changes to begin with? They could be external reasons. They could be internal reasons. There's so much to choose from, right? So you, as you start to make your own decisions, you're thinking about your why. And in your why, there should be some sort of a good motivation that you can go back to again and again to pull from in those days that your natural instinct to get up and follow these plans is a little wanting.
Yeah. So it could be as simple as in 6 months, you're going on a European vacation of some kind. Maybe you're going to Milan, Italy, or you're going to Barcelona, Spain.
Sure.
And so maybe, maybe there, for some odd reason, especially in Europe, you're going to walk a lot. It's the best way to get around is to walk wherever it happens to be. So if you're not walking very much, or you get very winded, even just going down to the mall or the grocery store or something like that, that could be your main goal, your primary motivator to this excitement of going to see in the other countries and the cities. So
sure, it could be some motivators are just for one's own well-being and how they feel with themselves. Some of them can be, like I said, there's internal and external factors. So that's an external factor, is of being able to enjoy an environment. It may be being able to fit into a garment of clothing that's extra special.
Exactly.
It may be spending time with people that are important to us. There's so many external factors, but internal factors can be our own confidence, can be how we see ourselves, the goal physically and emotionally, mentally, and so on, right? So we can see ourselves as a particular body shape that we're sculpting through our choices on a daily basis, but it could also be, how we feel about ourselves overall. It might just be a personal goal that says, when I feel my body is working harmoniously, then I feel like I am better prepared to handle everything that life brings my way.
Exactly. Yeah. And in a way you are, because some of these things are, it is painful. It's a change. And if you do these things and you make it a consistent habit, this pattern that you're creating is new, then you should pat yourself on the back because you just went through something that most people do not like to do, and that's change.
Correct. Yeah. And so to wrap this part up, I would say, we talked about, okay, we have a big goal, and we divided that out into smaller goals, and we've selected our first goal. So now we have a small, achievable first goal. And now we're going to decide in that goal, do I need to increase something, a behavior or a food, or do I need to decrease a behavior, something, or a food?
Or even replace.
Or replace it with something. Right. So we are either adding to, increasing, or removing from, or decreasing, or maintaining something more stable, more level. And then we put a short period of time around that particular goal and that behavior, so that at the end of that particular time, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days,
10 days,
could be whatever.
21 days.
At the end of that time, we can hopefully say, to the best of my ability, I was able to achieve either completely or in its majority this particular goal that I set out, so that our feedback and our response to ourselves and the reward to ourselves is being able to say, I accomplished this goal.
Exactly.
I put this out in front of me as an objective, as something to achieve, and I did it. If we feel before we even start that process that we're not going to be able to have that response to ourselves, we need to cut back on that goal a little bit more.
Or at least pick a smaller facet.
Smaller something
to work on.
Correct.
So that you can see some change.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break. Please stay with us, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Welcome back to 5 Phases Health with Peyton Young and Christina Barea.
And we're back. And I believe on this segment, what we're going to talk about is measuring results for positive reinforcement. So this is slightly different than measuring results for some sort of positive change. We want to look at this as you are basically making these decisions. You are making this change in your life, and you're going forward with it, whether it's walking or nutrition or mental mindset, or all three at one time. But looking at the fact that every one of those little milestones that you set for yourself, you're achieving them. That is the most important thing, and that's the positive reinforcement.
Yes, 100%. I started to reflect on, as you were talking about that, you reminded me of some of the classes and situations back when we were in school learning some of the modalities, or some of the teachers talking about the idea of hope and what the mind believes can overcome what the body feels it can do. And what I'm trying to say in that is there's several studies and cases, examples out there of people who have been told in the face of a medical diagnosis that it's terminal, or there's nothing that can be done. And so the mind believes it, the body reacts accordingly and behaves as if that's the case. But there are documented cases where there's been a mistake in giving that diagnosis. And in fact, there was nothing wrong. Or alternatively, there was something wrong, but they were told there is nothing wrong. The point is that the mind and the body were expressing differently, and the power of the mind eventually overcame the body, such that the person was able to, if they were told, even if they were very sick, that there's no problem, you're going to live forever, then that's exactly what they did. They overcame what the body was experiencing because the mind was that strong.
It's very powerful.
Very powerful. And if we roll that back from such an extreme example and we put it into our daily lives, if we approach our day to day with the idea and the perspective and the framing that everything is difficult and it's unachievable and I can't do it because XYZ and fill in the blanks, the critter that's the critter language, then that's exactly what's going to happen. We will self-fulfill that behavior and that belief.
Sabotage our goal.
Correct.
That we're trying to get.
But if we instead acknowledge, this might be challenging for me, but I know that I have the wherewithal to make this happen. I know that I can do this. I'm going to give my best effort and do everything that I know that leads towards this goal that I have for myself, whether it's even just making it through the day, then that's exactly what will happen. If we believe and we put our mind in that framework, then those are the things that will happen. So our goal is not to measure somebody on their progress right now. We're not talking about progress on, did you do 15 more repetitions of the sit-ups than you said that you were going to do? That's not the point. The point is, was the person, myself, am I sustaining a positive mindset that recognizes that even small effort towards a larger goal will eventually get me to that location, that place?
And there's a little marker in there when you're doing these things as well. And it's that last word that you just spoke, and that is effort. If you're giving an honest effort and you're trying to do something, the success will come. Mm-hmm. But recognize that you're giving all of you're giving the effort. You're putting, I'm not one of those 110% people. I'm more of everybody gives 100%, then you're focused, you're present, you're doing the activity, and recognize when you get done that even if you're in a little bit of a slump where you're not seeing a lot of change where you were before, as an example, just keep going. That positive reinforcement is there that you did it.
Yes. We think about, we're talking big results. We're typically talking about things that are visually observable. We're talking about being able to run. You can see when somebody's running, or we're talking about sculpting the body to a certain shape. We're talking about things that are visible. However, change, when we put effort in a certain direction, change happens first on a very microscopic level.
Very subtle.
It's very subtle. It's not readily observable to the naked eye, so to speak, just the casual observation. If I start a program of new nutrition and all of these things on day one, and somebody who I haven't seen in some time comes over, will they know that I've started something? Probably not. It won't be readily observable to somebody else. But internally, I may already start feeling the effects of it. I may notice that I'm a little more hungry. I may notice that my thoughts are different.
More energy.
Or there's so many side effects and things that we could be feeling. The point is that change at the very beginning is not easy to observe, and change is happening at a microscopic level. So we have to be patient. The lesson there is talking about patience and allowing things to unfold in the right time at their own pace until the buildup effect becomes actually noticeable. So
that's probably about 2 weeks, 14 days, something along those lines, maybe even 21 days, 3 weeks. Something.
Sure. Yeah. So physical fitness guidelines say observable in the body is generally about 2 weeks. It's going to take some time for you to begin to notice changes anatomically and physically and so on, to the point that they become observable to an external person. Usually for lasting change to be a new behavior, it takes more time.
Yep. A new pattern or a habit. Mm-hmm. You got to go just a little bit longer. Sure. It's about 21 days. It's about 3 weeks.
Right. To start to get comfortable with it. Yeah. And if we want a major overhaul and we want it to be something that's sustainable, we usually say it's about 90 days for it to become a new part of your life.
It's getting used to doing the activity. It's becoming confident that you can do the activity or the change that you're participating in. Mm-hmm. And there's a huge mental component here, an outlook that says that, especially if you're doing something that you've never done before, that you become really confident with yourself. Mm-hmm. And you all of a sudden internally I can do this. I can achieve this. I like this. I want it to be a part of who I am now.
Sure.
So that's probably about 3 months or so, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true. What you mentioned is that sometimes, right, as we initiate change, it's uncomfortable because we're changing, right? So
It hurts.
It hurts
when you do the activity or you want something.
Well,
really
it's
bad.
uncomfortable, right?
Yep.
Even if it's a thought process and emotion, if we're trying to change our perspective, and it's super easy for us to slide back into old habits and behaviors. So the important thing is for us to, again, be patient, give it time, and acknowledge the fact that change is occurring even at levels that are imperceptible at the beginning, but over time will become more and more noticeable. That said, I did want to quickly touch on the idea of actual physical training and so on. Like, again, some of the groups I belong to, there's conversations around, well, I've been doing this for 6 months and now I've noticed that I'm stuck and I'm not seeing any changes anymore. And so the body plateauing and reaching a point where it needs to
I call it adapting.
It's adapted.
You adapt to certain
Correct.
Workloads.
Yep.
Yeah.
The body has adapted and it may need to change one of those behaviors in order for it to push past the plateau. But also plateauing is a way for the body to continue to make some of those microscopic changes that we can't perceive while it's preparing for the next big change. So one of the ways that we see that, for example, is in children when they're babies, they fatten up, they get real chunky, and every mother goes, oh, they're getting ready for a growth spurt, right? So the body's packing on the weight and getting ready to convert all of that into the bones and the tissues as
building blocks,
right, for the baby to grow. Unfortunately, as we're adults, when we put on the padding, we can't quite say it. I'm ready for a growth spurt. But yeah, so we're talking about positive reinforcement. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process. Transformation is not happening overnight. It takes time. And it takes a lot of things to come together to create that symphony that we've talked about. It takes a lot of different moving parts in the body to come together in the right alignment and the right composition in order for that change to manifest. So we have to be patient and set those realistic goals.
One thing to look at too is we may have some listeners that they've been walking or they run, but maybe they have plateaued. They're not seeing a lot of change. So one of the things to look at is change the stimulus within mm-hmm. the activity that you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So that's usually duration, resistance, and intensity. Those are the three things that you can change. So with, let's just say that you run fairly easily 1 to 3 miles and you're not getting any faster time duration in that run. So you feel good, you're able to do it, you just can't get any faster. So what we probably would do is we would add in some more intense activity on some off days. So an example might be doing sprints for about the same amount of time that you're actually being able to do that 1 3 mile or 5K, something 10K, something along those lines. But you're substituting some high intensity activity to re-stimulate the systems of the body to adapt again. And so that's a very easy way to be able to see some change. For someone that maybe you're able to go out and you walk 3 or 4 times a day for 5 minutes. Well, time to change the duration. So we want to get that duration up. Maybe we only walk instead of 3 or 4, we walk twice, but we double that 5 minutes each time to 10 minutes mm-hmm. or something along those lines. A little bit of a stimulus, or carry some sort of a weight. Right. So you could carry dumbbells like you do. Mm-hmm. I like to wear a weight vest just to add some resistance so that I'm not running and being rough on my joints, but I can get that stimulus of moving something that's 10 to 30 pounds more than I normally weigh. So now I get some more increase in heart rate and pulmonary activity, lungs start to work. And so now I'm getting some change. Plus you feel really light when you take it off on top of that. Yep. So yeah, some very interesting ways of changing things up when you do find a plateau. I wanted to kind of add that in because we may have some people that are athletic or
100%.
or very active,
Sure.
or moderately active that
Right.
maybe wants to make a change.
Right. We want to put the body in a state of adaptation so that it has
over and over and
has
over
to learn
again.
new behaviors.
Exactly.
Yep.
Just take it easy so you don't injure yourself. That's the most important
100%.
thing.
Yes,
Yep.
that's very important. All right, so we're up for a quick break. Thanks so much for listening in to now. When we come back, we'll have some stories from our own lives of what we've done to shake things up and to set goals and what we've been able to achieve. We'll see you shortly.
5 Phases Health is designed for anyone seeking optimal well-being. We simplify health, wellness, and nutrition information into simple steps to help you achieve radiant health. Our teachings merge ancient wisdom with modern science to reach the root of the problem and prevent common diseases. Each week, we explore topics around food, exercises, breathing, and mental inspiration. We believe that small changes on a daily basis lead to long-term sustainable good health. Join us as we journey through medicine systems from around the world, including traditional Chinese medicine, allopathic medicine, herbal medicine, and various mind-body systems. 5 Phases Health with Peyton Young and Christina Barea.
And we're back. And I believe on this segment, maybe we'll just touch on some highlights from the other 3 segments.
Sure. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about starting with small changes and accomplishing goals that are achievable, that provide positive reinforcement towards the change in the goals that we're trying to achieve. At this point, we're thinking about what area of our life we want to start with, selecting from the bigger goal, breaking it into smaller goals, and the smaller goal, putting it into an understanding on whether it's something that we want to, that we need to, is there a behavior or an activity we need to do more of? Or do we need a behavior activity we need to do less of to create the space for that change to occur? And we're doing this in the framework that says the goal is so achievable that by the end of the goal challenge, I will be able to say to myself, yay, goal accomplished.
I did it.
I did it. That's the important part. The important part is to get that goal such that it's so not easy, but achievable, so that we can say, I did it. Because if it's too hard or too unachievable, then we're not going to get there. And then at the end, we're just going to have a negative feedback loop. And we definitely
don't want that. So it's a small goal or a smaller portion or a segment of the bigger goal. And then once you have achieved that particular goal for yourself, yay, then you compound that by adding on either the next goal or another facet that will help you to reach and achieve that ultimate goal that you're looking for.
Right.
To accomplish.
Sure. In our previous episode, we talked about increasing, it was a progress improvement or repetition improvement, these milestones. How are we measuring? Is it by percentage? Is it by number? Is it by doing something, for the very first time?
So, a test even.
Right. Yeah. So we have to have a measurable result. We have to have something that we can identify and say, this, if I get it to this point, then I have achieved that particular goal for myself. And it's got to be something that we can do. Now, one thing that we did bring up in our previous segment was the idea that we need to be patient with ourselves and allow for our own context, our own physiology, our own lifestyle behaviors, habits, environment, and actually even our own genetic predisposition. All of that has to come into play for us to understand what is actually achievable for me. And from that framework, make the decisions as to what the next step looks like.
Mindset. So that's big. Mindset is huge. And then we'll just call it feelings. How do you feel? Are you feeling that this is worthwhile? Is it good for you? Mm-hmm. Do you feel as if your body is changing? Are you more outgoing all of a sudden? Are you a bit more happy by doing whatever this happens to be? So it'd be some indicators.
Right. Yeah, and we also talked about taking into consideration in the realm of physiology, right? What stage of life are you in? There are a lot of folks that we talk to who are challenged by their lifestyle, right? They have families at home, and so children and partners, pets, and so on all take priority, right? Those are competing priorities that we have with our own wants, needs, and desires that we have to figure out a way to balance them out.
Did you say work in there as well?
Did I say work?
I'm not sure.
I may have
a
missed,
big one.
That's another big one, right?
Yep.
Work. So, it sounds overwhelming and it sounds great in a vacuum, and we can PowerPoint this all day long and break it into little bullets and little chunks and so on. But what does that mean in real life? What's an application of that? So I feel like the best way to learn is through storytelling and examples. So I'm going to use a couple of examples from my life. Let's see. So one of them is the idea of wanting to strengthen, because I often spend a lot of time at the computer. I feel like my lower abdominals are not the place where I want them to be. They're not as strong as they used to be. Listen, when I was a kid, when I was a young adult, I was super athletic, spent all my time doing some sort of physical activity, sports, etc. So physical conditioning was not a concern, but now I'm over 50 and it is, my metabolism has changed, my lifestyle has changed, and things don't hum along the way that they used to. So it's starting to feel age creep in, right? So I have to pay a little extra attention in some areas, which before I kind of took for granted. So anyway, back to the lower abdominals. And when I go walking, instead of sitting down on the floor and doing sit-ups, which I could do a lot of, there's a lot of exercises to help with abs. I could do all of that, but I'm actually naturally adverse to doing sit-ups. It's just one of those things that I don't particularly care for.
Probably had to do a whole bunch of them.
No, I did actually. I did. But I don't mind doing the twist, the Romanian twist. Yeah. That I don't mind doing. But the actual up and down sit up, I kind of don't particularly care for. So as you mentioned before, when I go out for a walk, I carry a 5-pound dumbbell in each hand, which is for a total of 10 pounds. And as I'm walking, I'll take the dumbbell and turn it so that my palm faces me. And then I'll lift my hand up in front of my chest. So my palm is still facing me. Of course, I'm holding the weight. And I bring it over to the opposite side of my body. So remember, we talked about the crossover effect and how that helps to build mind-body coordination, increases balance, and so on. But if you hold a weight and you lift it up like you're doing an uppercut punch, left and right, it actually works out your lower abdominal muscles. So
and your obliques as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're getting the extra weight that we talked about from when you're doing walking and you're carrying extra weight that kind of pushes you past any plateau. So you're building muscle and burning
stimulant.
Yeah, faster. But then you're also getting the added benefit of the weight coming up and tonifying the lower abdominals.
Plus balance too.
Plus balance.
Because as you move, it's got to be coordinated.
Plus, I love the looks of the people around the neighborhood when they're like, what is she doing? Do you have any stories you want to share? So
I guess for me, I needed to be able to work on some heart health this past year. And I'm in the 50s too. And so certain aspects of my health and things like that, or my physicality inside, I feel like I'm still 20-ish, but my body is not. Mm-hmm. And I've also not treated my body very well. So a lot of the things I do, I have to take into account some of the injuries that I continue to carry along with myself. So the things that we have been talking about is exactly the things that we are doing in order to get that new stimulus to achieve those goals. So as an example, I basically love backpacking. I used to do that a lot when I was younger, Appalachian Trail, because I'm from Georgia, and camping, backpacking and camping. And I've never felt the best in my life as far as like just feel good and able to move, go places and do things when I backpacked. So I began carrying a pack after I did a bit of a warm up to get my knees and my ankles and my hips used to carrying that extra weight and shoulders. So for me, you do weights. I'll throw on a backpack or a weight vest to again give me that same feeling. Then I don't have to necessarily run, and I can conserve and keep my knees, hopefully, and ankles a little bit longer as I age. So,
we should do an episode that talks about rucking, so you can tell us all about it.
Yeah.
But for today, unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining in today. We look forward to talking with you next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, where we will discuss the water element.
Sounds great.
See you then.
I look forward to it. And we'll see you then. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of 5 Phases Health. We hope we've given you some tips to improve your health habits. Until we talk again, have a beautiful week.